Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative, highlighting engineering and technology college fair. We're excited to have you participating in this event tonight. We have a fantastic school with you here today, Rutgers University. I'm Greg. I'll be your facilitator. And before we turn it over, I just wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping items. As a reminder, your camera and your microphone are both turned off. The panelists cannot see or hear you. Please utilize that Q&A button on your screen to type a question, and our presenter will be able to see that. Feel free to type a question in at any time. This is just one of many different sessions happening. Make sure you check back to strivescan.com for other colleges and presentations. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/CACHET, C-A-C-H-E-T. And I'll put that into the chat for you as well. I'd now like to turn over to our first presenter, Drew from Rutgers University.
Thank you very much, Greg. Welcome, everybody. I will say up front that this is the first virtual event I have done, I think, since late spring, which is in a way good. But if I seem a little rusty, that's why. I've been enjoying getting back out and actually meeting with some students and families face-to-face or face mask to face mask, as the case might be. But I'm really happy that you've chosen to join me this evening. I will be talking about Rutgers University, New Brunswick, excuse me, and with a specific focus on STEM programs at Rutgers, New Brunswick. I'm going to go ahead and, those wonderful words, share my screen. Make sure I've got the right one selected here. All right. So I will ask that folks hold off on their questions in the Q&A until I have finished. If you want to enter your question while I'm talking, you can, but I am going to hold off on addressing and answering any of them until I am finished with the ranking order presentation. So Rutgers University, New Brunswick. My name is Drew Newitt. I am actually a regional representative of Rutgers Admissions. I am based out of the New York metropolitan area, and I typically work with interested students and families from the New York metropolitan area, but no matter where you're joining us from tonight, welcome. Quick agenda, what we're going to be doing. I have about a 20 to 25 minute presentation, including a quick overview of Rutgers, New Brunswick, highlighting some of our STEM programs, and then again, a reminder that you can submit your questions through the Q&A button, and I will address as many of those as possible when I'm finished presenting. So, Rutgers, New Brunswick. Rutgers actually is the State University of New Jersey. There are 3 different universities that comprise Rutgers: Newark, which is in northern New Jersey, New Brunswick in central New Jersey, and then Camden, Rutgers Camden in South Jersey. We're specifically going to be focusing on Rutgers New Brunswick this evening. It is the flagship of the 3 campuses. It is the largest of the 3 in terms of enrollment. We offer about 120, I think 127 majors overall that I last checked, and almost 50, well over 40 of those are STEM fields. A nice small student faculty ratio of about 16 to 1. Our class, excuse me, sizes range from fewer than 10 students to lecture halls with maybe a couple hundred students. But the majority of our undergraduate classes actually have fewer than 30 students in them. We are very proud of this next bullet point here, our freshman to sophomore year retention rate. Particularly for a large public institution like Rutgers, we pat ourselves on the back. We do a really good job at keeping our students happy and moving toward their educational goals, and that's reflected in our 93% retention rate of our freshmen coming back for their sophomore year. Again, big school, about 37,000 undergraduates. When you include graduate students, it's up to about 50,000 total. We are a public research university in the state of New Jersey, particularly known for health sciences fields, engineering, as well as business, plus a lot of other areas, but those are some primary ones. We are the 8th oldest college in the United States of America. In fact, we're older than the United States of America by about 10 years. We were actually founded originally as Queens College in 1766. So if anybody needs a reminder or brush up on their American history, that was 10 years before the Declaration of Independence. Life as a student at Rutgers. We are part of the Big Ten Conference, the Big Ten Athletic and Academic Conference. Surprisingly, maybe, there are actually more than 10 other schools in the Big Ten Conference. I think they lost count along the way, but we're very proud of the fact that we are the most diverse university, not only in the Big Ten Conference, but one of the most diverse schools and student bodies in the entire United States of America. We have over 5,000 students from all 50 United States and international. I think close to 100 different nations are represented in our student body at Rutgers New Brunswick. And as I mentioned previously, we are a member of the Big Ten Conference. So we have 24 different NCAA Division I sports. And I will note, last time I checked, our football team is 3-0 this season so far. There is, quite honestly, something for every student at the university. Well over 750 different student clubs and organizations, ranging from cultural organizations to ones that are affiliated with certain majors or academic disciplines, political organizations, social activism groups, arts, theater, music, you name it, we've got it. You will not be bored as a student at Rutgers New Brunswick, including Greek life. Not a huge part of student life at the university, but it is certainly there, and it's available for students that are interested in joining a fraternity or sorority. Offer extensive study abroad programs, about 170 different specific programs. Last I heard, in about 45 or 50 different countries around the globe. Interesting to note, one of the advantages, aside from athletic competition, of being in the Big Ten Conference is our students at Rutgers New Brunswick can actually utilize study abroad programs offered through any of the other participating Big Ten schools. So even beyond our 170 Rutgers study abroad programs, there's a wealth of additional programs available to students if they're interested. Location, location, location makes all the difference in the world. We are about 45 minutes by train from New York City. That would get you to Penn Station in Manhattan. Going the other direction, an hour, maybe an hour and a quarter by train down to Philadelphia. Further down south, another 3 or 4 hours, you can get to Washington, D.C., or up to the Northeast, you can get to Boston in about 4 or 5 hours again on the train. Jersey is home to 14 of the world's 20 largest pharmaceutical companies, an incredible locus, hub of biotechnology, pharmaceutical research going on in the state of New Jersey. Over 130 different biotech companies alone. In fact, nearly half of the entire United States $30 billion private health research takes place right in our hometown in the state of New Jersey, or our home state, I should say. What does that mean for our students? It means access. It means opportunity to internships while they're students, to jobs when they're graduating, to an incredible alumni network, many of whom stay in New Jersey, but many, many who go elsewhere throughout the United States and throughout the world. So we have a very, very devoted and large alumni network that you as students and future graduates from Rutgers New Brunswick will be able to utilize. Now, you might be concerned or thinking about, wow, 37,000 undergraduates must be huge, must be easy to get lost, bewildering. No, why not? Well, because we are not a single 37,000 student campus in New Brunswick. It's kind of almost a misnomer to refer to it as the Rutgers New Brunswick campus, because it's actually comprised of 5 smaller campus communities, all centered around the city of New Brunswick, New Jersey. On the map here, they are Bush, Livingston, College Avenue, Cook, and Douglas campuses. Each of these campus communities is self-contained. Each one has its own academic, classroom, and lab facilities, dining facilities, student residence halls, and apartment complexes, student unions, athletic facilities. However, the facilities at all 5 are open to every single Rutgers student. So Typically, students will have one of the 5 that they consider their home campus. That might change over their educational career. But even if they are, for example, living on the Bush campus, but they find that they really like the variety of dining available at the College Avenue campus, okay, so they hop on the Rutgers bus and they head to College Avenue for lunch or dinner or breakfast anytime that they want, anywhere that they want. So it really gives you a smaller school feel because you're typically going to be not on a 37,000 student college campus, but on a 5 or 6 or 7,000 or even a 2 or 3,000 student campus. Excuse me. So like, for example, Cook campus down on the south end of town houses our Mason Gross School of the Arts, which is one of our smaller schools, as well as our School of Environmental and Biological Sciences. So that really, you're talking only about 3,000 or 4,000 students working and living on the Cook campus, for example. Now, I just mentioned schools. So Rutgers actually has 11 different undergraduate schools. However, only 7 of them, in red on the top 2 rows here, can you apply to as a first-year applicant. They are arts and sciences, pharmacy, engineering, business, School of the Arts, which is fine and performing arts, environmental and biological sciences, and our School of Nursing. Now, 6 of those 7 offer STEM majors, STEM fields, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of those in just a minute. Upper division schools, although you can't apply to them as an incoming first-year student, you can major in programs of study offered through those. For example, journalism, pretty popular program at Rutgers New Brunswick. That's offered through the School of Communication and Information, which we call SCI, SCI. You would actually enter through the School of Arts and Sciences, study there for the first year or 2, and then switch over to the School of Communication and Information to finish out your bachelor's degree in journalism in that example. Okay, and as I just mentioned, I'm anticipating my own slides here. Excuse me, 6 or 7 of the 11 schools are open to first-year applicants. Interestingly, you can actually apply on your one application for admission to Rutgers New Brunswick to up to 3 of those undergraduate schools. And because each school has its own admissions criteria and standards, by applying to more than one, effectively you are increasing your odds or your chances of getting admitted to Rutgers New Brunswick overall. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we do offer STEM majors in 6 of those 7 undergraduate schools. School of Arts and Sciences is by far the largest, with over 70 majors and about 2/3 of all of our undergraduate students. We have the School of Pharmacy, which offers a single degree, which is an accelerated 6-year pharmacy doctoral program. School of Environmental and Biological Sciences has a focus on experiential learning, field work, field studies. All of the students in that program or in that school will do some form of experiential learning before they graduate. Nursing is an outstanding, highly ranked program. It is a direct entry nursing program, so you apply directly to the School of Nursing for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing. If you're admitted, it is directly to that program. And engineering offers 10 different majors, and we'll talk a little bit more specifically about those in just a minute. Let's focus first on health professions. Wide variety are offered at the university, everything from nursing to pharmacy to physician assistant to pre-med to accelerated bachelor's and MD programs. We have access to 2 different hospitals right in New Brunswick for our students. I already mentioned the access to pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries in the state of New Jersey. We have our own health professions office, and they handle all student advisement for any student who is even remotely thinking of or interested in pursuing a career and or an education in the health professions. Excuse me. Outstanding and great variety of research opportunities are available to students in the health profession studies. And then we actually have 2 medical schools in the Rutgers University system. One is based in New Brunswick and one is up in Newark, New Jersey, and northern New Jersey. Some stats here on our medical school admission stats, or I should say our medical school admission rates. Overall, we are well above the national average for medical school admission, particularly our higher level graduates typically do quite well on their medical school admission. If you are interested in maybe health professions or any other biology related major, we have a lot. Everything from basic biological sciences to more specialized fields like plant biology or even biomathematics. So there are a lot of different ways that you can study and learn about different and related fields in biological sciences at Rutgers New Brunswick. All right, let's move on to engineering, another obvious STEM field. Our School of Engineering, about 4,000 students, so it's pretty good size. It is in the top 50 engineering schools in the United States of America. Offers 10 different majors in engineering, and I'll put those up on the screen in just a minute, including 8 of those 10 offer the option to do a 5-year accelerated program where you can combine your bachelor's in engineering with a master's in engineering, or your BS in engineering with a master's in business administration. Some students do double major in engineering. It's very challenging, but it is possible. Most commonly, students will combine a major in an engineering field with a second major in the School of Arts and Sciences. That's not the only one you're restricted to, but that's the most common way of doing it. We do not offer engineering minors. There's just too much required coursework in the study of engineering to be able to add an engineering minor onto another major. And excellent placement upon graduation or shortly after graduation for our engineering students. Here are the 10 different engineering majors. I am not going to talk about every single one of them, but excuse me, quite a variety. And when you start off in the engineering school, you actually will start off not in a specific engineering major. So you apply to the School of Engineering, but not to a specific engineering major that you declare at the end of your first year of study. We are very proud of our female representation in our School of Engineering. Overall, about 29% of all of our engineering students are women. That's well above the national average in engineering schools. And interestingly enough, our retention rate for our female engineering students is actually several points higher than for our male students. Partly that's because there is a lot of support available for our women engineers, including one of the largest Society of Women Engineering chapters, student chapters of any college in the United States, with about 250 young women in that student organization. Collaborative style. Our engineering students, they learn not only how to work on a team, but how to work collaboratively on a team and with other teams. We focus more on teaching teamwork skills rather than competitive skills. Rather than putting our students against each other, we want them to work together and learn how to do that. And that certainly, I think, helps with our 90% overall retention rate of our engineering students. The majority do end up doing research and or doing an internship or a co-op work experience during their degree program. And that's particularly important if you do want to go on to graduate school, including medical school. And we do have a fair number of our engineering graduates every year that do go on successfully to medical school. A couple new facilities. We just opened our overall engineering facility, Weeks Hall, about 3 years ago. And although it was delayed by the COVID pandemic, our engineering student project studio building is now scheduled to open sometime next year. Joining the School of Engineering. Up there, we've got the profile of last year's admitted student class. Again, this is specifically to the School of Engineering. So of all the students that were accepted to that school, those are the middle 50% ranges in terms of high school GPA, SAT, and ACT scores. We were test optional in admission, so students were not required to submit SAT or ACT scores for this fall. That is true again for this coming year. So any of you who are seniors in high school currently, you will not be required to submit test scores. If you choose to, you can, but you do not have to. If you choose not to, it will not affect our admission decision in any way. We do require for engineering applicants chemistry full year, physics full year, and a pre-calculus course in high school. And most successful candidates for admission also have calculus from high school. It's not a requirement, but most students do come in with it. Majority of engineering students do come in with some AP credit or IB credit. You are, as I mentioned a minute ago, admitted as a freshman to the School of Engineering, but not admitted to a specific engineering major when you start out. Excuse me. You actually will have the opportunity to explore all 10 of our engineering majors in that first year, including an intro to engineering course that is designed to kind of familiarize you with the different engineering fields that you can choose from to study. And then you will choose your engineering major in the second semester typically. Some students change their mind after that. It's usually not a problem depending on how long after that second semester it happens. When, maybe in your second year, if you decide that you would rather do mechanical engineering than aerospace engineering, that kind of a change is not a problem at all. Few highlights about some of the engineering majors. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but as you can see, they vary in size greatly. Everything from a smaller program like aerospace engineering to our most popular program, electrical and computer engineering, with over 800 students in that single major. Packaging engineering, it's actually not a major. It's a concentration within the major of applied sciences and engineering. It's a very popular program. No doubt, partly at least because we regularly have 100% job placement of our graduates from packaging engineering. It is one of those kind of quirky niche programs that not a lot of schools offer, and there's a lot of demand for graduates from it. Computer science. This is actually not in our School of Engineering. Computer science at Rutgers New Brunswick is offered through our School of Arts and Sciences. It is our fastest growing major, currently about 1,200 students total in the major. About 400 to 450 declare it as their major every year. And then a smaller number will take computer science as a minor under a separate major or majors. The admissions profile for the computer science applicants, again, because it's offered through the School of Arts and Sciences, it is a different admissions profile for applicants than applicants to the School of Engineering. We do have outstanding placement of our graduates in computer science. The majority typically go to work initially. Many of them will eventually go on for graduate school, but only about 9% go straight on to graduate school programs after finishing their bachelor's degree. As I mentioned, you would apply to the School of Arts and Sciences if you're interested in pursuing computer science, not specifically to the computer science major. Once admitted and starting off in the School of Arts and Sciences, you do take 5 different prerequisite classes that you have to get a grade of C or better to be able to go into the computer science major. There's several different tracks available within the computer science major to serve a variety of interests, and you can actually choose to do it as a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science degree. There are also a few of what we call hidden gem STEM majors, areas that you might not necessarily think about or know about or think of them as STEM programs, but some of them, the first one is called, we call it BAIT, Business Analytics and Information Technology. It is actually a major in the Rutgers Business School, but it has a heavy focus on data analysis, computing systems, and information technology. We also have a separate major in information technology and informatics, a cognitive science major for those of you that are interested in things like neuroscience and the crossover between psychology and biology, and a program in food science. And believe it or not, there's even a concentration in that major in pet food science. So if you want to go work for Purina or whatever, developing new healthy pet foods for dogs and cats and other animals, you can actually pursue that at Rutgers New Brunswick. And I believe that just about wraps up my presentation. Again, I encourage you to enter your questions in the Q&A box. You can take a minute if you want and copy down our email address for additional questions, or you can always just go to our website and learn a lot more about the university there, or just Google Rutgers New Brunswick and whatever topic you're particularly interested in learning more about. So you can just Google, Rutgers New Brunswick School of Pharmacy or Rutgers New Brunswick Engineering and Rutgers New Brunswick Research and learn quite a bit more. One thing I realized I did not mention is at Rutgers New Brunswick, we actually have, I believe it's 175 different research centers and institutes at the university. So incredible variety of opportunities for students, even as early as first year undergraduate, to get involved in their in research activities. And I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. And I see a number 1 has popped up in the Q&A. So let's go ahead. I am going to do my best, if I can keep up, to answer your questions live rather than typing in the answers. I just think that goes a little bit smoother. So Pearl has asked, is there a cosmetic science program at Rutgers? That's a great question. There is not that I am aware of as a degree program or a major or minor. However, we have had plenty of graduates from chemistry, biochemistry, and related majors who have gone on to work in the cosmetic industry. And I think, I want to say L'Oreal is one of the regular recruiters on campus of our graduates, of our students. So good question, interesting question. Other questions that people have, if you want to know more about student life, particular majors, student activities, research opportunities, anything like that, feel free to put them up there in the Q&A. I did not mention it, but we are back to welcoming visitors on campus at Rutgers New Brunswick. We have started back up with our in-person campus tours. They are currently, the schedule for arranging a tour is up, I know through October, and I believe November might also be up there. You actually can choose between doing a smaller scale walking tour of one of those campus communities I mentioned within the overall New Brunswick campus, or you can do a bus tour that actually covers the entire 5 campus communities. And it's not just sitting on a bus for an hour and a half, it drives around, but there are times when it stops and people hop off and take a closer look at some of the facilities and some of the buildings on campus. So I certainly encourage you, depending on where you are located, if you are able to come join us and come visit us, we welcome you. And we would love to see prospective students and families back on campus this fall. And certainly we'll be doing it again, COVID willing, in the springtime. We do not typically hold a prospective student open house in the fall. We do usually do a very large open house specifically for admitted students in the springtime. That's typically in April sometime every year. It has been virtual for the last 2 years, but if all goes well, we will be looking at doing our open house for admitted students next spring, live and in person back on campus. All right, and I see a student has just posted a question in the chat box. That's fine, although remember you can use the Q&A box too. Is it possible to do computer science as a major and computer engineering as a minor simultaneously? The short answer is no, because you cannot do a minor in any engineering field. However, the longer answer is you could do the opposite, which is you could do a major in computer engineering and a computer science minor along with that, or potentially a double major in the 2 fields. So you are not restricted to doing combinations of programs within a single school. You can do combinations of degree programs, majors, double majors, majors and minors across different schools. And that's something that Rutgers students are kind of known for, which is doing all sorts of combinations of degree programs. To the extent that it is not even uncommon for students to have a major and 2 or 3, sometimes even more than 3 minors along with that major. When will the next campus visit set to date as of now? Again, campus tours will be, they should be posted at least through availability through the month of October on our website. Just go to admissions.rutgers.edu. And you can click visit now and it'll tell you we do still offer virtual tours, and those are offered kind of with live narration several days a week and evenings a week. And the in-person campus tours are offered multiple times a week. I believe we will be adding, if we haven't already added, a few Saturday in-person campus tour opportunities also. But the key thing is go to the website, click visit now, and pull up the upcoming calendar to check availability of tours. If you are interested in visiting campus and doing a tour and you're not seeing any availability on dates or times that work for you, please reach out and let us know. We will do our best to try and squeeze you in on a tour when it works for you. We can't do it all the time, but if we know you're interested in visiting and you're having trouble arranging one, contact us and let us know. And excuse me for 1 second while I wet my whistle. Other questions, concerns? We did go back to vast majority in-person coursework for this fall, having been learning virtually through the last academic year, starting obviously back in March of 2020, like most other schools, and we did stay almost 100% virtual instruction through the 2021 academic year. But for this fall, we are back with 100% of our students on campus, living, learning, having fun, getting a great education, participating in student activities and athletics and all that good stuff. And so far, knock wood, things have been going well. We haven't had any major COVID outbreaks or requirements for large-scale quarantining or anything like that. So I think our students, by and large, they are smart. They are very conscientious. They understand the reasoning behind the new requirements in terms of masking and vaccination and things like that. And it seems to be paying off for them in the fact that they can now get back to experiencing really all there is to experience at Rutgers New Brunswick in person. Okay, Pearl is asking, will standardized tests be required for current juniors in high school? Pearl, I apologize, I do not know yet. We do not have the answer to that yet. Again, we went test optional last year. We continued that policy for this year for high school seniors applying for the spring or fall of 2022. We have not yet made a decision at the university about test optional or not after this coming year. I apologize. My guess is that that decision probably will not be made until sometime after the end of this fall semester, because that will give us some opportunity to look at our current students, our new first-year students, and find out how have they done, the ones that submitted test scores compared with the ones that did not submit test scores. Okay, from a GPA standpoint of view, some schools have different scales than a 4.0. For example, at your school, they have a 4.3 scale. When I apply to Rutgers New Brunswick, how would I apply? On which scale, to be clear? Great question. So one of the differences that you will find in applying for admission to Rutgers New Brunswick compared to many other schools is you actually will not have your high school send us an official transcript when you apply. Instead, you will fill out what's called the self-reported academic record, or SRAR. And it's actually just what it sounds like. Instead of sending a transcript to us, you're going to self-report to us your high school academic record. So you'll get a student copy of your high school transcript, and you'll transfer all the information from that onto this SRAR online form. You're going to tell us your GPA on whatever the scale your school uses, and you're going to tell us that scale when you report your grades. So we will kind of take it from there. So you will be able to report your GPA, your individual courses, 9th, 10th, 11th, and beginning of 12th grade, the titles of the courses, the level of difficulty of the courses, and obviously the grades you got on those courses. So we are well versed in, if you will, translating different school grading systems and grading scales into a common scale that we then work with in the admissions process. But good question. One other difference about applying to Rutgers compared to many other schools you might be looking at that I'll mention, aside from the lack of a requirement to submit your high school transcript to us, is recommendations. Not only do we not require applicants submit recommendations, but we do not use them in the admissions decision process, excuse me, in any way. So even if you submit a recommendation letter or a recommendation letter, to be honest, nothing's going to happen to it. It is not used in the admission decision process. And I understand that that's probably different than you might have been thinking about for lots of other colleges and universities as that you might be interested in applying to. Rutgers does have two different application plans or programs, if you will. A regular decision. The due date is December 1st of your senior year of high school if you are applying as a first-year applicant. And we also offer early action. The deadline for that is November 1st of your senior year. The only difference between applying early action November 1st or regular decision December 1st is that if you apply early action, you will get your admission decision back from us about a month sooner than if you apply regular decision. That's it. It's not binding in any way. So you can go ahead and apply by November 1st. It's early action. You'll get a quicker decision back from us. If you are not comfortable or don't want to pursue that, you can just apply by December 1st, regular decision, and you'll get your decision on the regular time frame. Excuse me, December 1st is also the deadline. You must apply for admission by December 1st to guarantee you are considered for academic scholarships if you are admitted. So kind of two factors there to that decision, December 1st decision deadline or application deadline. One, you want to make sure you apply by December 1st to be considered fully for admission to your schools of choice. And two, if you are admitted to one or more schools, that you are considered for merit scholarships. And as I think I mentioned earlier, our admissions decision is made school specific. Our decisions are made school specific. You can apply to up to 3 schools. You might do that. You might get admitted to all 3. You might get admitted to none of them. You might get admitted to 1 or 2 out of the 3. And scholarship decision-making, at least currently, is also done on a school-by-school basis. So you might get accepted to 2 schools, but only offer a scholarship by 1 of them. That's currently the way the system works. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the application process that I did not cover, forgot to cover. It's pretty straightforward. One question sometimes students have is, do we accept the Common App? The answer to that is no. We are not currently on the Common application. You do, however, have 2 options for applying. You can use the Rutgers application itself, or we accept what's called the Coalition college application. And we don't care which of those 2 you use, as long as you submit them before one or the other due date, either November 1st or December 1st. So really, to apply for admission and complete your application, in some cases, it's only 2 things. It's the application itself and completing and submitting your self-reported academic record. If you choose not to submit standardized test scores, that's it. Those 2 things are all we're going to need to consider you for admission and consider your completed application. If you do choose to submit those test scores, you will need to have those sent to us from the testing authority directly, and they do need to be received by your application due date. So either November 1st if you choose early action, or December 1st if you choose regular decision. The essay is required. It is an integral part of the application itself. So we don't have a separate essay or a supplemental essay or anything like that. The essay, we do offer you a choice of topics to write it about. The last choice is pretty much any topic that you want. So if you want to write it specifically about one of the topics we offer, you can. If you want to write it about some other topic of your own choosing, you can do that too. And I will, speaking from experience, I will promise you that we read every single essay that our applicants submit. And that's typically on the order of 45 to 50,000 a year applications. And honestly, it's one of my favorite parts of my job. I love reading essays. I love students just learning more about them. Sometimes being surprised at what I learned from them, from their essay. Sometimes getting a good laugh or chuckle from their essay. Other times maybe shedding a tear or 2 when I read some applicants' essays. Not to put pressure on you, I'm not expecting you to write a tearjerker essay every time, but it's definitely worth putting some time and effort and thought into your essay for the university application. And I think we still have about 5 minutes left in the session. So if anybody else does have additional questions, feel free to put them up there in either preferably the Q&A box, but you could also do it in the chat box. I am going to see if I can post a couple quick website links in the chat box. Excuse me, for your reference. And let's see, we are going to put up a link to information about campus tours and visiting. All right, there's my 40-minute timer going. Let's see, that did not work. Let me try that again. Well, doesn't seem to want to cut and paste. Let me try one more thing. All right, maybe this is going to work. Okay, this is the link I just posted up in the chat box to connect you with our campus visit website. And you can see a calendar of available tours, walking tours and bus tours, as well as virtual tour availability too. We do give the opportunity to create your own personalized view book online. And I will see if I can post that link up here too. Can't find that one. All right, let's see if it's on this sheet. Nope. All right. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right, let me put this up here. So if you do want to get more detailed information about a major or majors you might be interested in, you can click on that second link and put together actually your own personalized view book about the university. I will also put up information, a link to information about costs, tuition, fees, room and board, etc. And tuition and fees do vary somewhat between the different schools at Rutgers. So tuition and fees at the School of Engineering might be a bit different than at the School of Arts and Sciences or the Pharmacy School. But I'm pretty sure the link I put up here will show you the current tuition and fees for each of the different schools that we offer. Also a link to, a moment ago, let's see. Oh, here's an excellent one. This is placement rates, like job placement rates that you can search by degree program, by major, etc. And see, for example, for most recent year data, you can actually look up and see, for example, what was the job placement rate for graduates from the biotechnology major or the finance major in the business school, etc. So hopefully these will be useful to you and helpful to you in learning a little bit more about different aspects of life at Rutgers. And a couple more minutes. Any last minute questions, feel free to quickly post them up in the Q&A or the chat box. Otherwise, we can look at wrapping it up.
Thank you, Drew, for a lot of good information from Rutgers, New Brunswick.
You're very welcome.
Thanks to everybody for joining us today. When you close this window, there'll be a link to a very quick 5-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback you could provide. We encourage you to check out the schedule at strivescan.com for other college presentations. And you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the session's recordings at strivescan.com/CACHET, CACHET. And I put that in the chat as well. Thanks to everyone and have a great night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.